We used to call it our twin, same size, same mass, same rocky surface. For centuries, we imagined lush jungles, warm oceans, maybe even civilizations hiding beneath those thick white clouds. But when we finally pierced the veil, what we found was not paradise. It was the most violent, toxic, and merciless hellscape in the entire solar system. A world where the air crushes you flat, the rain is made of pure sulfuric acid, and the ground glows red-hot in the permanent dark. For thousands of years, humans worshipped it as the goddess of love and beauty, the brightest star in the morning sky, the most radiant jewel in the heavens. But Venus is not beautiful. It is a scorching nightmare wrapped in poison clouds spinning backwards in the dark. This is the true story of Earth's evil twin. Imagine leaving Earth and heading inward toward the sun. After about 4 months of travel, you see it. A brilliant white sphere, almost the exact same size as Earth, shrouded in a thick, unbroken blanket of clouds. From a distance, it looks peaceful, almost inviting, like a pearl floating in the golden light. But that beauty is a trap. Those clouds are not made of water. They are made of concentrated sulfuric acid. Droplets of acid float in a haze so thick that no human eye has ever seen the surface from orbit. The entire planet is wrapped in a chemical veil that dissolves metal and burns through organic tissue in seconds. As you descend through the atmosphere, things get worse fast. A pale yellow darkness surrounds you. Lightning flashes in the distance, not like Earth's lightning, but slow, massive discharges that ripple through the acid clouds like veins of fire in a dying body. And then you start to feel the pressure. By the time you reach the surface, the atmospheric pressure is 92 times greater than Earth's. That is the same pressure you would experience if you dove 900 meters beneath the ocean. The air itself would crush a submarine. Every spacecraft we have ever landed on Venus was destroyed within hours. The longest any machine survived was 127 minutes. The Soviet Venera 13 lander touched down in 1982 and sent back a handful of images before the heat and pressure killed it. Those images are haunting. A flat, barren landscape of fractured volcanic rock under a sky of thick orange haze, just a suffocating, glowing stillness. And then there is the heat. The surface temperature of Venus is approximately 465 degrees Celsius. That is hotter than the surface of Mercury, even though Mercury is almost twice as close to the Sun. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system. At 465 degrees, lead flows like water. Tin melts, zinc boils. The ground itself glows a faint, deep red, like embers in a dying fire. You would not walk on Venus. You would wade through the atmosphere like pushing through hot, invisible syrup. But why is Venus so catastrophically hot? The answer is one of the most terrifying phenomena in planetary science, a runaway greenhouse effect. Billions of years ago, Venus may have looked remarkably like Earth. Scientists now believe it had liquid water oceans for up to 2 billion years, gentle temperatures, possibly even conditions suitable for life. But as the young sun grew brighter, Venus's oceans began to evaporate. Water vapor trapped more heat, which evaporated more water, which trapped more heat. An unstoppable chain reaction that boiled the oceans into the sky and baked the surface until every last drop was gone. The hydrogen escaped into space, the oxygen was absorbed by the rocks, and Venus lost its water forever. What was left was a thick atmosphere of carbon dioxide, 96.5% pure CO2, pressing down with the weight of an ocean. Venus became a pressure cooker with no off switch, a planet that cooked itself to death. And here is why that matters. What happened to Venus could happen to Earth. The runaway greenhouse effect is not science fiction, it is a documented planetary process. Venus is not just a cautionary tale, it is a prophecy. But Venus is not just heat and pressure, its surface tells a story of unimaginable violence. Venus has more volcanoes than any other planet in the solar system. Over 1,600 major volcanic structures have been mapped, and scientists estimate there may be over 100,000 smaller ones. In 2023, scientists discovered a volcanic vent near Mont Mons had changed shape between two radar passes. Venus is not dead. It is actively erupting, right now. And there is a theory that Venus may experience periodic global resurfacing events. Every 300 to 500 million years, the entire crust essentially melts and reforms. A planetary-scale volcanic apocalypse that erases every crater, every mountain, and replaces it with fresh lava. The surface is suspiciously young, only about 300 to 700 million years old. Almost no impact craters remain. The planet eats its own history. And yet, in the midst of all this horror, there is a mystery that refuses to die. High in the clouds of Venus, about 50 kilometers above the surface, the temperature is roughly 30 degrees Celsius. The pressure is about 1 bar, almost exactly like a warm day on Earth. And in 2020, astronomers announced they had detected phosphine gas in the upper atmosphere. On Earth, phosphine is produced almost exclusively by living organisms. Could there be life floating in the acid clouds of Venus? Microbial organisms drifting in the narrow habitable band, feeding on ultraviolet light and sulfur compounds. The detection has been contested, debated. We simply do not know, and we will not know until we go back. Venus spins backwards. Every other planet in the solar system rotates in the same direction it orbits the Sun. Venus does not. If you could stand on the surface, the Sun would rise in the west and set in the east, and it spins incredibly slowly. A single day on Venus takes 243 Earth days. That is longer than its year. Venus takes only 225 Earth days to orbit the Sun. So on Venus, a day is longer than a year. No one knows exactly why it spins backwards. The leading theory is that billions of years ago, something massive slammed into it with enough force to flip its rotation entirely. A collision so violent it reversed the spin of an entire planet. And whatever hit it is long gone, erased by the volcanic machine that consumes everything. Venus does not care about our missions. It does not care about our probes or our theories. It will continue spinning backwards in the golden light, wrapped in its cloak of acid and poison, glowing red beneath clouds that never part. A planet that was once perhaps as alive as Earth. A world with oceans and rain and gentle skies. And now it is a furnace, a tomb, a warning etched in stone and fire at the doorstep of our own world. We call it our twin. But Venus is not our twin, it is our ghost. A vision of what we could become if we lose control of the only thing that separates us from the inferno, a thin, fragile atmosphere. When you see that bright star in the evening sky, remember what it really is. It is not a jewel. It is a crematorium the size of a planet, spinning backwards in the dark, waiting for no one. But as terrifying as Venus is, it is not alone in its violence. Travel outward past Earth, past the asteroid belt, and you will find a world so massive it failed to become a star. A gas giant with a storm larger than Earth that has been raging for centuries, and a radiation belt that would kill you in minutes. But that is a story for another time. Keep looking up and stay curious.